Hey guys, welcome to Sketch Day, and thank you so much for the suggestions this week. On Monday, I posted a video asking for help, and I'm just blown away by all the comments. So today, I'm going to continue taking your feedback and input and working on new videos and content and all of that. Now, I have done a video on a chair before, but I thought it would be good to sketch another piece of furniture for you guys and show you my 3-step process of form, divide, and beautify. But before we begin, I want you to hit that subscribe button, especially if this is your first time, because we go live on sketchaday.com and you don't want to miss that. So definitely hit subscribe, turn on alerts by tapping on the bell. You can also come say hi on the socials. I'm at sketchaday.com on Instagram, and I'm at Daily Sketches on Twitter, as well as it's easy to find me on Facebook. I did release last week my new brush kit. That's at sketchaday.com. You can check that out if you use Procreate. So far, I've been getting some good feedback, so appreciate it. And I appreciate the support for those of you who have purchased my brushes recently. Okay, so let's get started with the 3-step process. If you need material suggestions, all of that is in the video description below. So check that out. It's also a great way to support what we do here. So the first thing I'm going to do in this 3-step process is form. And form basically just refers to the overall shape of the object. The next thing I'm going to do is divide that object. And that just means breaking it into the functional bits. And the third thing I'm going to do is beautify. And that means adding color, texture, and so forth. And this is really how I like to think of drawing when I do it. Now, I don't have a specific chair design in mind. I'm just kind of thinking of a general structure. So I'm going to start by sketching the back of the chair at a certain angle. Now, note, this is in perspective in the sense that these two lines converge at some point off in the distance. But because the back of this chair is at an angle, we also have these two lines converging at an auxiliary. I'll write that out. Auxiliary vanishing point. Vanishing point. Okay, that's where these two are going. Now, let's say I want to do something like some legs. Okay, these three now converge at a certain point. I have the back like so. And now I can draw my other lines like so, okay? And if I want to kick these legs out, these legs also would converge at that auxiliary vanishing point. Now the back of this chair feels a little bit extreme. So what if we dropped the back down a little bit like so, and then now connected, okay, just like that. That feels a lot better. And I'm going to take advantage of this relationship here and kind of create some legs, or maybe it's just a solid leg piece. Okay, something like that. And I could even take this line, for example, and maybe this is a material break. So sometimes I like to kind of work with what's already there and use that to create my design. So for the legs here, I'm gonna say that this is wood, and maybe this is some fabric portion of the chair. Now I do want to cast a shadow for this chair, so this gives me a good opportunity to talk about that. Now for the shadow, I'm going to assume rather that all my light rays are parallel to each other. So what that means is as I project out lines to figure out the shadow, I'm just going to pick a direction like this, which is representing the relative position of the light source to the object, right? So the light source is somewhere in the front, meaning the shadow is going to be projected this way. Now I need to determine the position of the light source relative vertical to the object. I believe the word is azimuth. So now from each of these corners, I'm going to project parallel lines down like so. Let's see, from this corner, parallel line like so. From the top corner here, which really you have to kind of project down and then project it over. I'm going to have, let's see, some point here. Okay, so there's a little bit of a bend here. I need to account for that in the chair. Okay, and to do that, let's see, I'm gonna have a point something like this. So my shadow now looks kind of like this. All right, it's gonna be kind of a messy sketch, but hopefully you guys can bear with me and see what we're doing. So I'm just blocking out the shadow here. This corner as well will be projected over this corner as well. And if I connect these dots, I now have just the general rough shape of what this shadow is. Now on the inside, I would also have a line projected over, so I can kind of account for, you know, what this gap in the shadow might look like, something like that. And there I have a shadow for my chair. Now we can kind of clean this up by adding a background element of some sort. So I'm gonna do that. Just go across the page like so and connect these just like that. All right. So now I have a form overall. I've done some of the division, haven't done any of the beautifying yet. Okay. And these steps aren't meant to be gates in the process so much as they are meant to be a guide for you as you're sketching. So in this case, we have a little bit of wood here and the seat. I'm going to cheat a little bit on this guy, and that's okay. Okay, so I'm going to cheat a little bit there, and I have this cushion thing, or maybe it's just a colored cushion section right here with a little bit of wood underneath to support the whole thing. Okay, so since this is wood, I'm just going to take a brown marker like so and just quickly shade it in. All right, so this is the beautify portion of the process. Let's go over and down like so, and then over. Careful to shade in the perimeter, but not be too so careful that you kind of lose the life on the sketch. Now here, I'm not doing a flood with the marker so much as I am a streak, and that's because I want to be able to add a couple lines here on the front. Okay, so once the marker is dry, I can use the same marker, or if I have a darker marker, I can use that as well. And that's a great way to kind of work on creating some sort of texture or grain. As I'm shading under the chair, going a little bit dark right here as we approach this surface that goes from dark to light. So you want to put your darkest darks, which is what I'm doing right here, darkest dark against the lightest light, and that's going to give you a sense of depth as you're drawing. So if you don't believe me or think that's a thing, definitely take a look around you and you'll notice that wherever there's a change in surface direction, we do typically have a shift in contrast or a difference in value. So I'm going to make this seat cushion blue, right? Just using one marker here, and we'll come down to the perimeter. Now this surface is facing up, so I'm going to get more light here than I would on this surface. So let's go ahead and just shade this in like so. And on the top here, I can shade that in as well. It's really light. And then now that that's dry, I'm going to shade again dark, light. So I want to create a gradient where these two surfaces meet so that now they feel three-dimensional. And on the front, I can kind of do the same thing. If it's helpful, you can take another marker, for example, and I haven't tested these, so I hope they work. There we go, PB9. This is a marker from the Ohuhu marker set I've been using and playing with, but I'm not super familiar with the colors. But you do want your darkest darks against your lightest lights, and that's going to help your object feel three-dimensional. All right, so now this upper portion, I'm just going to do a gray for this portion, and I'm using a cool gray 2. So I'll shade that in like so, and just kind of fill right here. All right, just fill this in. Wait till it dries, fill in some more. And now we have some sort of fabric combination on this chair and a material split. All right, now adding stipples for me kind of helps, especially if I want to call out a separate material. And then I can just add that note, right? If it's important for me to call out the material, adding notes will help. I'm just going to take my paper made flare and emphasize some of these wood grain marks on the wood that's being used for this chair, like so. And now, just to help this thing pop, let's use some green in the background. And I just picked a random green here. Green will complement the blue nicely without too much contrast. All right, and I can just shade the outline even, but be thoughtful about where you put the color, as where you put the color is going to affect how people view the presentation or sketch page. All right, so something like that even. I'll do this on the back side, like so. Just a classic way to help pull this thing forward for the viewer. Now, final step is to work on the lines and definition. Well, maybe not final, but close to final step. So cleaning up a bit with this black marker. Okay, right where we need that extra line weight. Line weight just means the thickness of the line. And so I'm just trying to create a little bit more separation between the object and the background by adding that line weight. Now the shadow itself, I'm going to take this marker. I grabbed a PB11. It's a blue marker, but I want a cool shadow. So this blue will serve as a nice base for the darker shadow we'll put on with some gray on top of this. All right, so let's shade this in like so. All right, and that's even kind of cool on its own, but we're gonna add some gray over this. Okay, so now I'm gonna let's take this cool gray 9. It should be pretty dark. And now I'm just gonna shade over the blue here. And it's very subtle, you probably can't even tell on camera, but it's something I like to do, is just have that base cool or warm color before you put your gray on for your shadows or elements that you're wanting to recede, or just kind of have a different, interesting feel. It's just a good way to kind of add some variation to your drawing. Now, just to create some further separation here, I'm going to add a little bit of rim light to the sketch, and that just means maybe in the environment the chair itself has some additional light that's kind of playing off of it and affecting it. Okay, let's work on this shadow on the inside, maybe hint at some wood grain as well. Going back, and there you go. There's our quick chair sketch with a shadow, background, and showing that form, divide, beautify process. Well, hopefully you guys were able to pick up some interesting or useful tips there. If you did, I just ask that you share this video, or better yet, sit with someone and share what you know. We all get better when we communicate and teach someone something, and that's one of the things I love about being able to do this. Thank you so much for the support. Definitely hit subscribe and turn on alerts. Come say hi on the socials. I am at sketchday.com on Instagram and at Daily Sketches on Twitter. Check out my store. If there's something you find useful, go ahead and pick that up. You can use the code FIRSTTIMER that's listed in the video description for a small discount to say thank you. Well, thanks guys, and we'll see you next time right here on Sketchaday.